even though they have captured the city of Artyomsk, or what the Ukrainians call Bakhmut, in the Donbass region. The mercenary side of the Wagner Group, as the spearhead of the Russian aggressors, has suffered considerable losses. Wagner's private army company, PMC, claimed to have lost as many as 20,000 soldiers during the storming of the city in eastern Ukraine that lasted nearly a year. The head of Russia's Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, revealed that private military companies lost around 20,000 servicemen during the liberation of the strategic Donbass city of Artyomsk from Ukrainian troops. In an interview published by Wagner's press service on Tuesday, Prigozhin said that during the long fighting he had raised the company's rating with 50,000 convicts from Russian prisons, who are offered the chance to go to war instead of completing their sentence. About 20% of them have died, said Prigozhin. The victims among them are the same as those who signed up under a contract with us. This shows Wagner's defeat at Artyomsk, which is the main settlement in Russia's Donetsk People's Republic, DPR, numbering about 10,000 former prisoners and 10,000 military professionals. About 20% of Wagner's troops also had injuries that would take at least 3 months to recover from, Prigozhin said. However, he insisted that the Ukrainian military had suffered far greater losses in what he previously described as the Bakhmut meat grinder. We have destroyed 50,000 soldiers of the Ukrainian armed forces in Artyomsk, Wayne's chief claims, adding that another 50,000 to 70,000 had been seriously injured. Prigozhin announced on Saturday that the operation to take Artyomsk, spearheaded by Wagner, had ended and the city had been completely captured. The battle for the main logistics hub has been fought for 224 days, he added. The Russian Ministry of Defense later confirmed the same day that the town had been captured, with President Vladimir Putin congratulating Wagner servicemen and regular Russian military forces on their success. Ukraine, which previously claimed that Artyomsk would be defended at any cost and would be a turning point in the conflict with Moscow, has so far refused to acknowledge the city's loss. On Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said a settlement was only in our hearts when asked by his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden at the G7 summit in Japan if Kiev still held Artyomsk. Hours later, Zelensky changed his stance and denied that the settlement was occupied by the Russians. Zelensky calls it like the Hiroshima bomb due to the large number of victims suffered by both sides. Volodymyr Zelensky called Artyomsk reminiscent of the consequences of the U.S. nuclear bombing of Hiroshima. In that city, there was indeed the most brutal battle between the Ukrainian and Russian soldiers who were supported by Wagner's mercenaries, Zelensky told reporters on Sunday at the G7 summit in the Japanese city. Photos of Hiroshima remind me of Bakhmut, said Zelensky, using the city's name in Ukrainian. He laid a wreath at the memorial for the victims of the atomic bombing in Hiroshima during his visit. Absolutely total destruction. There is nothing, no people, he said, adding that all the buildings were destroyed in the city the Russians captured over the weekend. The Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed they had captured Artyomsk late on Saturday. On Sunday, Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated Wagner fighters and soldiers of the Russian army for taking the city. Kiev continues to deny that it has lost control of the city. Zelensky himself is sending mixed signals about the situation on the ground. Early Sunday, he said the city was only in our hearts when asked if Ukraine still controlled Artyomsk. Later, he denied that the city was occupied by the Russians. Russian businessman Yevgeny Prigozhin, founder of the private military company Wagner Group, told reporters on Sunday that there are no Ukrainian fighters left in Artyomsk. The U.S. nuclear bombing of Hiroshima killed between 70,000 and 80,000 civilians, or about 30% of the city's then population, according to various estimates. Another 70,000 people were injured. The explosion also killed around 20,000 Japanese military personnel. The Little Boy bomb, which exploded some 580 meters above the city, destroyed everything within a 1.6-kilometer radius. It also caused a massive fire that engulfed 11 square kilometers. According to Japanese officials, nearly 70% of the city's buildings were destroyed. The salt mining town of Artyomsk has been the site of 8 months of fierce fighting as Russian forces gradually push Ukrainian troops out. The city, which spread over 41.6 square kilometers, was largely destroyed in the process. As of 2017, the total population of Artyomsk is just over 71,000 people. Most of the population was evacuated before the fighting started or before the fighting. However, according to the International Committee of the Red Cross, around 10,000 people were still living in the town at the end of March. Kiev also stated that the battle for Artyomsk claimed the lives of around 4,000 civilians. Russia has yet to comment on these forecasts.